there, this is D, and welcome to Uneven. How you doing? Oh, I'm breathing a little bit heavy because it's been another one of those days, a lot of those days lately, where it gets to be like, 1 or 2 in the afternoon where I'm at, and I realize I haven't stopped for 2 seconds to do any breaks or eat or whatever. Just so many things happening, and a lot of good things, but just so many things happening. And, that's okay. Sometimes it's all right to be that busy and that chaotic and that I won't say overwhelmed, but focused with things going on. I do think, as we talked before many times about distraction and keeping busy is a good thing, especially for those of us who struggle with anxiety and ruminations and depression and all the thinking loopings that we have in our brain. I think it's really good to have something that we can, take our mind off it, something that can keep us busy, keep us occupied sometimes. And I know a lot of people do benefit from that. I've been online a lot lately. We kicked off February 1st on Uneven. So in case you want to check us out, we're at uneven.life. That's uneven.life. Come check out our place. We currently have you can come visit us 14 days, 2 weeks, totally free. And then the payment would kick in, but this is a fee site. But of course, you get 2 weeks to come check us out. No commitment whatsoever. And if you want to leave anytime within that first 2 weeks, no charge. So please come check us out. We'd love to see you. That's at uneven.life. Our community is going through a transition right now because we had 4 months totally free for people to kind of help build things and kind of, help us design and grow out the community. And now we have finally, just at the first of this month, moved into a paid platform. So now we charge a monthly fee for that, and you can find that online. So again, check us out. We got all kinds of things going on. We've added more live streams and events of all different kinds of topics. We have now anxiety. We have weekly events now on anxiety, on benzos, on tapering, on just some social events and game events. We have welcome session now, and we have kind of learning to get around uneven in the community and all these new things that are coming in, and this live podcast recording. And we're going to be adding more things like panels and stuff, and then we're adding other tiers, and just so much is growing. But we already have so much here. We have almost 20 spaces, I think 15 to 20 different spaces, different subgroups of all different topics for you to be part of and communicate with people. And we get over 5,000 interactions a week now on this site. So just a lot of people are interacting and talking to each other and sharing ideas. And there's a lot going on here. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback from people. So please, that's my shameless plug. I'll try to keep it to that. But come check us out at uneven.life. We'd love to see you. So we'd love to see you. I said that, didn't I? Okay. Moving on. I wanted to talk a little bit about anxiety because that was kind of one of the things just kind of hit me today. And also being overwhelmed and stressed and kind of trying to keep up with things that seem to be on my mind. And I know a lot of people struggle with this. At our community, we work with people. I started out in the benzo community. And of course, then really grew into working with just generalized anxiety, which is a big part of what the benzo community is going through. Of course, with our new site, we've added on antidepressants and also gabapentinoids, which is gabapentin and pregabalin type drugs. So we work with a lot of different medications and also just people who are dealing with anxiety and depression and such. But sometimes I do spend a lot of time working only in the medication world, and I like to come out and sometimes talk about just the anxiety and spend more time talking about that because we all suffer from that. That's one of the things that I think, readjusting my chair. I'll do this as I talk because we're casual. And how we handle anxiety is a very personal thing. And I've seen this on our site lately, and this is what I wanted to get into, was of just watching how different people are dealing with things. And different people are managing this process, especially. And over the years, with all the people I've worked with through the podcasts I've done and who have written into me, and we've corresponded and back and forth, and how different people have handled, what's a good term for it? Maybe significant life changes of a negative variety. That's the technical term. Something that's happened in your life that's totally taken you on a 180, 90-degree turn, whatever you want to use to define it. Not something you expected and not something you probably wanted. And suddenly now you're learning to try to figure out your life with all these new limitations or pains or struggles or cognitive issues and all this sort. And I think we get trapped there and we get caught there, and different people respond differently to it. And also different people are in different stages. And I think we've seen that a lot with people going through this type of a significant change in our life. And I've referred to like the 5 stages of grief. I do think that's a good blueprint for what we've been going through. And it does seem to match. It's not linear necessarily. It's not everybody gets all those stages, but it does seem to be a process I've seen a lot of people go through, such as, the 5 stages, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And finding acceptance, we have learned, is a very big piece. It's kind of that. I almost think of it maybe like, if we have different phases, it's that move into the latter half. It's like all these things working up, dealing with anger and depression, learning about what's happened to you, getting the details, finding information, trying to get support, dealing with symptoms or whatever the different things you have going on, just all this sort of stuff, and trying to figure it all out. And you also have it tied in with anger and all this other stuff going on in your head, and just the struggles you go through. And that's that first half. And then you kind of hit this little point here, and I'm just kind of, drawing a point here on the screen. We hit this point when I think is what I call acceptance. And acceptance is then when it starts to go downhill a little bit. It doesn't suddenly just drop off like suddenly everything's miraculously great. It's not how it works. But it moves it from being an uphill battle to leveling off and starting to be a downhill battle. Things start very slowly to get a little easier. I think it has to do with mindset. I think it has to do with the outlook. It has to do with how you're perceiving what's going on. It has to do with experience. You've gone through all this crap getting up here, and you've developed this knowledge base, and you understand now your body a little more. You understand your mind a little more. You understand what's going on a little more. And that helps. All that stuff, it's that wisdom you've built. And it helps on the other side. And it's not like, I don't know that one person's better at this than the other. I think we all have to process this, and we all have to do it in our own time. But eventually, most of us reach that acceptance level that says, okay, this happened to me. I know that now. And I know there's no getting out of it. There's no bargaining my way out of it. There's no way, I can't fight back and make it disappear. It doesn't work that way. I now have to learn how to live with it and how to make the most of my life now on the other side, which doesn't have to be worse. In fact, in many circumstances, it's better. With mine, my life got better. And then the symptoms aren't quite as bad sometimes. And they ease a little bit. And you ease your anxiety a little bit. And then your thinking kind of comes back. And things just start to work better. And I've seen this time and time again. And that's from that hope. That's from that understanding that we do heal. That we as individuals do heal from complications like this. And it's important to keep that in mind. And that all brings me to the mindset of things and anxiety. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. And also, one of the terms we use here, it's not, I don't know, it's just, I keep repeating it because I put it on our guidelines on our site, and I've used it in some podcasts. But on our site, we approach it from something I call compassionate responsibility. And all that means is we have compassion for what you all are going through, for what everyone's going through, because we are a group of people who have been there, and we've done it, and we get it, and we're often still in it, and we sympathize, empathize, we have compassion. The second piece is responsibility, which says when you are ready, it's time, we want to encourage people to start to take responsibility for their own healing. Now, responsibility doesn't mean the same thing as blame. It doesn't mean that was your fault that you got here. It means that you are the only one who can truly get yourself out of it. Now, you can get help from other people, and I think that's essential, and a support team. But in the end, it is you and your decision to find your way out. And that's that taking responsibility of saying, okay, I am here, and it is my job now to figure out how to survive this, how to get through this, and most of all, how to make the best use of this process. So when I come out on the other side too, I'm not only through it, but I'm also a better person, because it's a very introspective process, especially when you're coming off a medication like benzodiazepines or antidepressants or gabapentinoids or something like that. It can be very introspective because we have a lot of time to think about what we're going through. And responsibility can be shown in a lot of different ways. In fact, I did a video back. I'll put the link here in the show notes, but I did a video a while back. I have it up here. I'm looking at it back in 2023 in March, so a while ago, called Taking Charge of Your Anxiety. It was part of a 101 anxiety tips series I did that, ended after I think the 5th tip. But I didn't get it very far before I got sidetracked, squirrel, and moved on for something else. But I do like coming back here because these are kind of helpful, and they help me also think of topics to talk about. So maybe you might want to go check that video. I'll put a link here in the show notes. But also, I mentioned a few different ways of looking at taking charge of your anxiety and how you can. And taking charge is a misnomer, I think, a little bit, because I think taking charge for a lot of people is synonymous with control, and control is a big factor too. And we're gonna talk about that for a second, because actually, I think taking charge of your anxiety, or what's a better term? Learning to manage your anxiety, learning to get beyond your anxiety, is more about letting go of control than it is about getting control. A lot of our anxiety comes from trying to keep control, trying to take control of our lives, trying to take control of a process that we have very little control over, and that drives us nuts. And I think that's where a lot of our anxiety, a lot of our stress comes from. And so learning to let go of that control is a huge piece of it. Learning to let things pass, learning to realize that I have less say or less command over the things that happen in my life than I think I do. And it's important to remember that. And I have seen many times in my life, in some certain circumstances, where just backing away, stepping back a little bit, stop trying to control a situation, which I was very good at trying to do. Not successfully, but I was very good at trying to do. And allowing a situation to be. Observe it. Be part of it, but observe it. And just kind of let a situation happen, or let things in your life happen, or even let a symptom come and watch it. Watch it come and watch it go. It's not easy to do sometimes, but it's interesting, and you start to learn things, but you're also taking away some of the stress and some of the anxiety of that. And the more we lessen our anxiety, typically the more we ease the complications of it, and we ease our symptoms, and we ease the severity and the duration sometimes of our symptoms. And I've seen that over and over again, and I think it's important. Responsibility, as I mentioned up front too, also is different than blame. And I don't think blame gets us anywhere. It's easy to do. I've done it plenty of times in my healing process. I blame doctors. I blame pharmaceutical companies. I blame just about everybody that would walk in my path at some point. And even though it's justified, it doesn't benefit healing. That's the problem. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of blame. And at some point, we need to move past that. That's that anger stage. And we need to let go of that blame. And we need to focus more on, okay, I'm here. That's not helping me. Now, what can I do to get better? And even take an ownership for how we got here. I am not about to tell anybody that it is your fault for being dependent on a medication or something, because we really have little responsibility in this at some point. But we do have a little bit. And I'm talking about myself here, and I don't want to seem... The last thing I want to do ever is to say that I'm blaming anybody who has gotten, into these situations, because I'm not. Because we have not been provided good support, good guidance, good medical support. There's a lot of problems that have fallen apart, and rightly so. And like I said, we are justified in blaming some of the things that happened to us. But I had to realize also I had a role. I did have a role. Even though it might be minor, I had a role. And that was, I took Klonopin for 12 years. In that 11-year period before I started taper, or 11 or 12-year period, I never once looked it up. Internet was now part of my life, so I could have done that. I could have asked people. I could have gone and gotten books. It's a drug I just kept taking without even thinking about it. And I never looked up to see what the problems might be. What might be the side effects? Hey, what if I Googled Klonopin? I think many of us know what happens now if you do that, but what comes up? I never did that. I kind of wanted that magic pill. There was a part of me that wanted that pill that was going to fix everything. And so I had a role in this. And I do that to myself. I'm not saying anybody else is. I'm just saying for myself, I had to realize I had a role in this. And that even though the doctor who prescribed this to me, when I went back to him, he still told me I didn't need to come off the drug because he totally believed in this drug. And he said his wife is currently taking the same drug. That's how safe he knew it was. And I realized he's not looking to harm me. He really believes that. So he wasn't trying to do anything wrong with me. And it just kind of, and I got in this cycle of trying to understand people from different points and realize that, yeah, there's a lot of harm caused by people's actions when it comes to these medications, psychiatric medications, a lot of harm and a lot of arrogance, a lot of I don't want to get into it, but just a lot of problems, and rightly so. And we need to change that system significantly. But by sometimes taking ownership of the little piece I might have had, I also then took ownership of my journey to get out of it, of healing. I finally decided that I'm going to be a partner from now on with doctors. Not just somebody who listens, not just a patient, but a partner, meaning I have a say in what I take. I have a say in the medications I take. If a doctor insists on me taking a certain medication, I don't agree with it, I can go to a different doctor and see what that doctor says. I have a say. And so now I monitor more closely what I put in my body because I've had such a negative effect by what's happened. And I think many of us have been there too. So what I'm trying to say is blame can be this box we get trapped in, this bubble we get trapped in. And we got to be careful because it can keep us there and we can't move on past it. And I think that's important to keep in mind. And of course, informed consent is another thing we talk about informing the patient about complications with these drugs. But thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate it because I do love to get the feedback of people. And just so you all know, Rachel is one of our one of the three members of my leadership team, myself, Lisa Gemmel, Rachel Mascaro, and those are the three people that help run Uneven. So thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you being here and helping me out with this process. But yeah, so blame's a good one. I also wanted to talk a little bit about just responsibility in general and just medication, because that's what I was starting to clue into, is that we live in a day and age of a lot of information available to us, which means we have access to learn some things about a medical procedure that's been recommended to you, about maybe a test, about a medication that's been prescribed to you. We have access to a lot of data. Now, not all of it's good. Not all of it's good. And we can definitely become an internet doctor. And, and I think regular doctors find that frustrating. And I get that. I do. But I do think it's our bodies, it's our minds. We need to be a little more careful about how we process things, how we process information that's given to us from doctors, instead of just always saying it is absolutely, this is the way and only way, saying this is a medical opinion. I can go and get another one, and I can use my own research and my own mind to help make the decision. I would never tell anybody to reject medical advice. I can't do that. And I don't believe that. I think, it's important to follow medical, because sometimes those are life-saving types of things, that medical advice. But if you're uncomfortable and you're unsure, it is totally fine to get a second or even third opinion, to go see another doctor who might have a different take on it. I think that's important. And that's where I come to from that side. And I just wanted to mention that. Oh, and also we have to need to remember we always have a choice, regardless of their recommendations. Exactly. Thank you, Rachel. I agree, and we do always have a choice, and that's just the thing. Unless you're in, a psychiatric ward on a $72 hold or something, you have a choice in what you take, and you have a choice to go see another physician, another medical provider, and ask that person to say, "Hey, this is what this doctor recommended to me. What do you think about this? Do you still believe in this? Here's my concerns." And sometimes the advice is different. And that's when you get to step in and say, okay, I'm going to go with this doctor. I'm going to, I'm going to follow this one instead because I feel more comfortable with this. And I think that's important. I think that's important. But this all comes back to the whole thing about anxiety and responsibility that I was talking about. And I'll wrap this up here pretty soon. We'll keep this short today just because I think I said that before, keep this short. I do that. I say, we'll keep this short today. And then 20 minutes later, I end the podcast. So I do that sometimes. I think sometimes with Uneven Live, I love this format. I love the live. It's another format I have. But it's also different than the uneven ones I started recording at the beginning, which were, I like to use the word intimate. We're more intimate. It was just me and the recorder. I could record anywhere I am, and I still do that sometimes. But it was me and my feelings and what I'm going through, and I would share those with you. And you would let me know, many of you have let me know that connection was really important, that you really appreciated to hear what I went through, what I'm going through, what is in my brain and what I'm thinking about, because we don't always do that. I think there's a word that's thrown around too much today, and that's being authentic. And I don't like to use words that are overused. So authentic, I try not to use too much. But I just say be real, be myself. And I've learned that from different podcasters along the way, some really popular ones and stuff. And the ones that really stand out are the ones who are just themselves. Having on guests that they want to hear from, talking about topics they're interested in. And I think that's a good lesson overall. And I've tried to follow that with both the Benzo Free podcast and Uneven, that I just share with you what I'm going through. I just be me. I talk about things I want to talk about. And I've been amazed at the number of people who have connected with that. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that. We are the only ones who really know what's going on in here. Nobody else. People are going to try to tell you what's going on in there. People are going to try to tell you how to fix it. People are going to try to tell you you're wrong or you're just crazy or, all kinds of things. But there's only one person that knows that. There's only one person that knows that, and that's you. So don't let somebody else tell you that this isn't real, that what you're going through is not hard or difficult. They're not inside there and they don't know what you're going through. They don't know. And also, you don't need to blame them either. I don't come from a place of blame. I'm more of a place from they just don't understand. And I try to help them sometimes, but sometimes they don't know what we go through. And I struggle with that too. I struggle with that a lot. And I have recently too. So I had a little bit of depression this past week. And see, me just talking to you. I had a little depression this week for a few days there. Some things about things that were going on with the site and some things that were happening outside and just some discussions online that with some of my colleagues. But I would just wake up, you know the sadness that hits you because something is happening during the day. And it kind of hits you and you're like, okay, that's depressing or that's saddening. But, an hour later you move past and you're in your day. But then there's the times that you have this just overall feeling of depression. And when you go to sleep, you wake up and it's there. You didn't have to bring it up in your brain. You didn't have to try to think about it. You didn't have to try to remember what happened yesterday. You just wake up and it's already there. You're waking up already in that mood. And that's kind of how I was the last few days. I think some of you might be able to relate to that. But I've learned something huge for me. And this is probably a good place to have our closing. I learned something huge. Thank you, Rachel. I know that one well, she mentioned, and I appreciate that. I know you do. I think so many of us know that one well. But the thing I've learned that is huge is this. It's okay. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sullen. It's okay to be jealous. It's okay. Feelings are okay. That's what we do with them is when we get in trouble, but feelings are okay. And I think a lot of us with anxiety have struggled against that, have said, I can't be depressed. I can't be sad, or I don't want to be sad or depressed. And we fought against it. And the fighting process has made us more anxious. I had a lot of loss in the last few years, people in my life that I'm still got to figure out how to process. I'm still working on that. That's going to take me some time. But a lot of loss. And I'm processing and I'm learning how to do that. But the thing I kind of figured out was it doesn't have to be a process I'm trying to speed through. I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to push away. It can be a process I'm trying to embrace. I've learned to embrace the sadness, the depression sometimes, especially the tears. If you've listened to this podcast, you know I've had a few emotional releases. That's what I call crying, my emotional releases on here. And I've learned to embrace that. And there is a joy in that. I know it sounds weird, but there is a joy inside the sadness of just letting that be, just letting that move through my body. There's a joy in that. And Rachel just mentioned too online here, all this comes back to acceptance, accepting where we are. And that includes accepting the negative feelings as much as the positive ones. And it's funny because the negative feelings, I believe, don't hang around as long if you just let them be. It's a process. When you let them be and you experience them, they also seem to flow past. They just float on, float beyond. Float's a word that we were recently out of a Clear Weeks book we were reviewing in our book club on Uneven. And floating by was a term she used. And it's a term we kind of were discussing in one of our sessions. And it was really a great session about letting things float by. And it doesn't mean ignoring them. It doesn't mean pushing them aside. It doesn't mean fighting against them. It means embracing it at the moment when it hits, feeling it, and then letting it float by. It's a visualization I've seen work many times. It works with me, and I really enjoy it. And I hope maybe it might work with some of you. I'll wrap this up, but I want to huge thanks to Rachel, who's been online. She's been awesome at giving me some comments, and I really appreciate that from her. Oh my God, that's one of the greatest joys I have right now is this team that is coming together at Uneven right now. I have this rock solid leadership team with Lisa and Rachel, and I got the other guides coming in on our advisory board and stuff. And they're just people that have come to our group, have expressed interest in helping, and we've just had some conversations. And next thing you know, they're running a space, or they're, running a live stream, and just to watch the site grow with them. I'm loving this process. I hope you come check us out. I really do. uneven.life. Come check us out. Give us a chance. Let us know what you think. I really do want to hear from you. And I hope you'll stay tuned. We'll do this again next week. I am still trying to get some new software lined up to be able to run this even better. But right now we're getting through it and making it happen. But mostly I just want to check in with you and make sure you're okay. Let you know you're not alone. That's one of the big ones. You're not alone. You're not the only one going through this. Whatever it is you're going through, you are not the only one going through this. I promise you that. There are millions of people in this world who are going through something similar. Sometimes reaching out and finding those other people and connecting with them can make a huge difference. Because nobody should go through this life alone. I just don't feel like that would work very well. It doesn't work for me. So I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you all for joining me today on today's podcast. And I hope you come check us out at uneven.life. And I hope our website too, which is at easinganxiety.com. Come there and check out all our different podcasts. And you can find those there. And I am just really grateful that you have given me part of your day just to listen to what's going on. And I hope you found it helpful. Please take care of yourself. And I will see you next time right here. Same time, same channel, right here at Uneven Live. Take care now. Bye. Hey, this is Dee. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out our podcast. I do need to remind everyone that this podcast is for informational purposes only and should never be considered medical, psychological, or professional health advice of any kind. If you or someone you know is dealing with significant mental health issues, please seek professional help. Resources can be found in our show notes and on our website at unevenpodcast.com. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you on the flip side.